The steal by Iverson, posting in. He wins it. He won the game. Be there to say absolutely no. Three from Scott. Yeah, do you love this game?
A rocky landing for the Sixers, or a rocky start, depending on how you look at it, as they begin this West Coast road trip. Danny Pommells here with the Sixers Talk podcast, along with Ben Berry. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. WilmU Works. Exciting game then last night as the Sixers capped off this back-to-back with the Kings and the Knicks. They score, 42 points in the first quarter against the Kings. They score 43 in the first half against the Knicks. Two different games, but there were some consistencies between the two games and some players emerging, which is going to be interesting to talk about here, particularly as the Sixers continue to play these games without Joel Embiid. What did you see, Ben? Where do you want to start? A win is a win, right? Here in this March Madness environment, survive and advance is the order of the day.
A win is a win, and that's very important. I like that they beat the Knicks. That's very important. I did not like how close the game was, and here is why. There's a good chance the Sixers could be matched up with the Knicks come first round in the playoffs. I don't think the Sixers would lose to the Knicks in the playoff series. I do think the Knicks will hang around longer than need be for the Sixers, and it could go 6-7 games. And not saying the Sixers will lose, it's just wasted energy when they could be thinking about their opponent in the second round, whoever that may be. And these games are physical. Do you really want to play 5-6 games with the Knicks and when it's just elbows, the refs are letting them play? Do you really want to put that on Ben and Joel when it just always seems like there's some ill-advised injury popping up out of nowhere? I don't want them playing more physical games than need be to a team they're superior to them. So they got the win last night. I don't want them to play the Knicks in the first round because how close the Knicks have played them, it's just unnecessary. That's what I'm thinking about moving forward.
Man, the Knicks have a way of mucking it up, don't they? To just like muddying the game and just turning it into just possession after possession in the half court and like slowing down the fast break. So the Sixers aren't playing that up-tempo rhythm basketball, getting up and down the floor. Credit to them. Credit to Tom Thibodeau. Credit to Julius Randle popping out as the all-star. And man, what a three that was. He hit off the guard and bounce. Like it hits the front of the rim from the right corner and then goes glass and in to force overtime. But I all right, I hear what you're saying. But the playoff basketball is going to be playoff basketball. It could be a tough matchup, whoever they play, but I do feel you on the physicalness of the interactions. But I think when Joel Embiid is in there, it won't be much of a contest. The Sixers had that great 15-0 run when Furkan was balling and stealing and hitting threes and alley-oop in the bend. It was tricky there for a little while. But I think Shake Milton, bro, we talked about in the previous podcast, just the fact that he had been, inconsistent and fading to the background. And one of our coworkers who will remain nameless had been fed up with Shake Milton. He had felt like Shake was given, the inconsistency was too much to bear. But here he is with back-to-back great games. He looked silky. He destroyed the Kings. I think he had 28, and then silky smooth against the Knicks. Although at times not, money when they needed him, but he's creating opportunities, getting to the basket, hitting threes, showing confidence. Particularly on these next 4 games on the West Coast, man, where they're going to have probably miss LeBron and AD, which is going to be a big coup for them. But I think that Shake Milton's emergence and then a day off in between to travel to the West Coast might give them a little momentum that they needed here at this time.
Yeah, Shake's mid-range has been clutch the last couple of games and throughout the season. So I'm okay with him being like the guy in the second unit to get buckets that we spoke about before. His 3-point shooting is down this year. Last time I checked, this morning I believe it was 30.6. I would like those numbers to get up, but
yes,
what can you really do when the whole second unit struggles to score? But no, Shake emerging, right time is great. Another option for the Sixers, someone that can go get a bucket, which is great. I love the defense intensity we saw yesterday. But then again, it was the Knicks, and it was just a throwback 90s and 80s game that your pops, the older guys in my family, they love that type of basketball. All the old heads at the barbershop saying the games you saw, they're all Knicks fans. That's my conclusion. The half-court offense and just how bad the offense looked last night is a little bit of a concern. We've seen in the past what happens on the offensive side of the ball when Joel hasn't played in the playoffs or hasn't played at all. I hope they can pick it up.
Yeah, the late game execution was shaky. It was shaky at best. A lot of bad turnovers. Man, that inbounds pass where Ben just threw it. Like all he had to do was get it to Tobias, and he throws it. Well, I guess Tobias took his eye off it. I don't know what happened, but it just a lot of late turnovers and bad decisions. But you gotta win ugly, Ben. Sometimes these are character building moments. These are when you think you don't have something left in the tank, where Tobias misses 2 free throws. The dude shoots almost 90%, misses 2 free throws, but he said his hand was hurting from the previous foul, so he couldn't really feel it. So that's why he felt like he missed 2 free throws. But I know it pained him more than it pained us, strictly from the fact he's from New York. So you returning home, I'm sure there were some people watching, and he clanks these 2 free throws, but then hits the big 3 in the OT from the corner. But hey, man, a win is a win. Sometimes you got to win ugly, character-defining moments where you can say, hey, remember when, at the moment it might seem like, man, that was really shaky how he finished that out. But, you can look back on it down the road and say, we pulled out that Knicks win. Let's try to go and, bring up some of that resolve here in other situations. So I'm okay with it, man, because I want to see them win without Joel. I want to see how they figure it out. I want to see them solve the puzzle. I want to see these bench guys come in and Furkan show out, and Danny Green doing
he's played phenomenal since the
3-and-D
All-Star break
stuff, man. Yes,
he's played in the passing lane, terrorizing. I think he had 3 blocks yesterday before halftime. I don't know, maybe I'm confusing. He's played phenomenal since the All-Star break, just terrorizing people. So, his name being in trade rumors, you have to get someone of that out back that can just be a leader and be that defensive minded. Shout out to Danny
man. Green. Think about what the Sixers are asking for, and you're looking for a 3-and-D guy. Guess what? Suddenly, Danny Green is all that and then some, because they pointed out a little bit during the broadcast, Mark Zumoff and Ala Abdel-Nabi, that these last 20 games or so, his shooting percentage, the defense, Julius Randle is a load, bro. There was times he tied him up. He's trying to pull the chair on him. He's bodying him up, and then going out to the perimeter and doing the same thing to those guys. So he's not as expendable as I thought in the past. The 3-and-D is there. I mean, you ask him for threes, he gave you the buckets at OT. You ask him for D, he's giving you that as well. Although I keep saying that they can get somebody who can shoot like Furkan and play D like Matisse, that's the perfect bench guy that they need. But alas, Danny Green is giving them some of that.
Although Danny Green had a goose egg for most of the night, he hit those big shots late. But what I've noticed
making an impact, though.
He seems more comfortable than in the beginning of this season. So, he's freelancing more, and that's causing the deflections, turnovers on the other team. It's the defense is definitely revving it up since Joel has been out, which I think has surprised a lot of people, myself included, because I didn't think it would be this good. Danny Green, if you move him, you got to get something at least that good back on the defensive side of the ball. Can't just be a cash swap, a money swap. So no, I've been very excited about what I've seen from Danny Green. And you mentioned Matisse, and we get someone to shoot like Furkan, play defense like Matisse. The one thing about Matisse, he is not shy about putting the ball up if he's wide open. Or a little bit of irrational confidence guy.
He's stepping up into it. He's doing it more often, definitely.
So he had a big one.
He did, but he had clanked a 3 off the backboard earlier in the game from deep. And I think that kind of screwed with his confidence a little bit, but he stayed with it and still put him up when, obviously the Sixers needed him to.
So if he can improve and just be the 3-and-D guy that we all want him to be, that'll also be a big benefit, a huge benefit for the Sixers.
Yeah, I'm more inclined. It's tough, man. Doc Rivers talked about it after the game that if they need to make a move and that will improve the team, he's fine with it. But they have the second best record in the NBA as currently constructed. So things are going well right now. Like, it's not like we see all these moves that the other teams are making it. And yeah, I have said in the past that, some of the, they need to get another offensive player that can create. They do have issues, but with all those issues, all the obstacles and everything that they've dealt with, they are still 30 wins up, 13 losses. Like, you can't really, argue with that, and considering the fact that they played without Joel, without Ben, without both of them for several games. Credit Tony Bradley, Dwight Howard. We mentioned Danny Green and Matisse. Like, these guys, man, and we've said this in the past as well, that, these are games that they probably wouldn't have won in the past. And credit to the coaching staff as well, because I see, this is you see the same, even though Joel and Ben aren't out there, they're playing with a confidence and a scheme and rhythm that reflects that this system works without the superstars. You know what I'm saying? So they're out there executing and going through, Doc's plays and, running the sets and the dribble handoffs and whatnot. And I'm liking what I'm seeing, man. You got to win ugly sometimes.
You got to win ugly. I also like that saw Tyrese Maxey rejoin the rotation, and it seems like he's learned from his previous experiences on the court, being decisive, and it definitely opened things up a lot, especially when him and Shake were out there at the same time. Like, it's great. If they don't make a move,
two ball handlers.
Yeah, if they don't make a move and get someone else that can create for others, we have to let Tyrese Maxey just mature in front of our eyes. Whether that it's going to be unfair to him, but they definitely need that. So it's nice seeing him in the rotation. He's learned from the past. Hopefully he continues to be in the rotation and get more minutes.
It looks like, I think the staff, they're still figuring out what exactly works and how to make it all jive together, because, you see Maxey and then you don't see Maxey. Even when they've been in these situations where, Ben comes back from having a knee issue against Sacramento, they blow that team out. And then they, Maxey, gets some minutes and he's getting some minutes here. I'm thinking he's preparing for the West Coast trip where we might see more Maxey here in these next 4 games before they play Cleveland. But I think they're still trying to get the matchups and the sets and who's on the floor when with what they're doing. And I think they're still trying to figure all that out. But it's all working out well so far, man, because you can't argue with the record.
Can't argue with the record. I can't argue about them losing that big lead before halftime, which is frustrating. And I think that falls on Tobias and Ben. Tobias looked indecisive at moments last night. And it's just, we've talked about this plenty of times, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. So many people already think I'm negative, just Mr. Negative, and I go after people on fairly. Just that can't keep happening.
Well, he was cold. He was cold. The shot wasn't falling. The shot was
cold.
Falling.
But he was also indecisive, and he was probably dribbling more than he should have at times.
Well, he had the back to the basket thing going on, and they started running those double and triple teams at him. Like, yo, somebody else is going to hit a shot. And the Sixers stepped up, man. Credit Danny Green for hitting a lot of big baskets. Matisse hit a big 3 out of after a double team. And I feel like, Tobias was in a role that he's not used to that. He's not used to trying to pass out of double teams and finding the guy. But they made it. It was a good game plan by the Knicks. I think they had just as much reason to be frustrated about having the game in their grasp and not winning it as the Sixers did of having the game in their grasp and not winning.
I completely agree. And when you brought up Furkan, something I just want to mention. Why do you think it is that he plays so much better in these surprise starts? I'm not saying he should get a starting position. I'm not saying he should be the sixth man off the bench. When he starts unexpectedly, seems like he's lights out.
He's a hired gun, man. He's out there to chuck it. So when you get an opportunity to just go out there and chuck it, like he's made for that mold. Like he's a streaky shooter. So you come in and you're just gonna run some sets for me. You gonna get me opportunities where I get to get in this little shooting pocket and fire up these threes. And he responds, man. I mean, he can shoot. You give him his credit. He can shoot. It's just the consistency we're looking for, and him doing other things, which he did last night, of playing D, getting in passing lanes, making good passes. That's what's going to be. I'm curious how they'll handle Furkan. Is he a player, a Sixers? Is he going to be with this team? Is my thing. So it's just curious how they'll handle him. But he's showing that he's developing, and he has to do other things besides shoot in order to show his worth. But he showed that last night, and hopefully he's going to get more opportunities, specifically with Seth Curry banged up. So we'll see what happens, man.
There's no reason he shouldn't be able to grow into Kyle Korver. Like
Kyle Korver.
There's no reason he shouldn't.
I was just going more recent and just thinking JJ Redick, just, maybe not, Redick needs to hit some unorthodox fade, not out of bounds threes, but I'm saying just the opportunities, the coming off of the screens and having, square up, facing the basket, 3-point shots.
Yes, without a doubt. I went with Korver because Furkan is a lot bigger than JJ. And sure. I just felt Korver has had a long, successful career for knocking down shots and being a solid defender. Not great, but you're not going to wet the bed if he's on, like, in crunch time minutes against a very good offensive player. Not ideal, but you know what I mean? Before we move on, a couple of things I just wanted to pick your mind. Whose idea was it for an 8 p.m. Sunday night game?
Oh, man, it went to OT at that. And I told you we'd be doing this podcast at 8:45, so it was like, good Lord, I'm watching the post game, waiting for the players to come out. The hour is getting late, so I feel you, bro. But I think that's because of the COVID protocols. They moved the game time from 7 to 8.
The 8 p.m. Eastern time Sunday night game that annoyed me. So they double back to back with the overtime. Now they're flying to the West Coast. The hits keep coming. And what do you think about the Tony Bradley foul at the end of the game?
I feel like, you mean when he grabbed Julius Randle's leg?
Yeah.
I think he grabbed his leg. That was clear to me. You know what? For me, Ben was an all-star. Julius Randle was an all-star. So they just were in the same locker room together. But the viciousness that Randle smacked Ben's hand away when he was trying to break it up, and he had his hand on Bullock and Randle trying to move them off Tony Bradley. I feel like Julius Randle was, we just saw him blow up in that game against the Nets where he didn't get the foul call and whatever. But I felt like he was justified in being upset because it looked like Tony Bradley started grabbing his leg. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought Julius Randle was justified. It was a funny situation.
So, watching the game, shout out to Ala and Zoo. I thought Julius Randle was completely justified. I don't think Tony Bradley went in there with malicious intentions. He wasn't a goon out there.
It was a heat of the moment, probably. Yeah,
it was a heat of the moment. I think Julius Randle was completely justified. That's you and me at a pickup game over the summer or at the Y.
Hey, get off my leg, bro.
A fight starts over that, so I completely get it. Other people's Julius Randle should be thrown out. He's overreacting. I'm like, no, I think he's justified. I thought he was justified. That's all. I wanted to pick your brain about those things.
Start college, build skills, and complete your degree with Wilmington University. 100% online options and affordable tuition make WilMU work for you. Learn more at wilmu.edu. First in the Atlantic Division, first in the Eastern Conference, 30-13. The Philadelphia 76ers here. What are we, 4 days before the NBA trade deadline? What are we thinking? We need to get to the bottom of what's most important, what is going to work best for this team, because it's a fine line they're walking here where you upset the apple cart and try to bring in a new body, a personality that's going to have to fit in with the Sixers team in short order, only 72 games in the season. We're 43 down, so much, only about 30 more games to go here, if that. So do you risk it? Is Daryl Morey weighing shaking it up or standing pat? I don't think it's that simple, but are the Sixers in a situation where you think that they can't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, NBA championship, win it all? There's like 3 stages there, I think, of, winning your conference, then, winning it all. I guess 2 stages, winning your conference, winning it all. Can they do that with the current roster currently constructed? I'm going to say no. They can't do both of those things with the roster currently constructed. I'm thinking a bench piece. If they can get healthy, if Seth and Joel come back fine, if they can get healthy, I think a bench piece would change the dynamic more. I'm leaning more towards keeping the starting 5 as it is. And I'm thinking a bench piece, a strong bench piece could really, you can't get rid of Matisse, but maybe, Maxey, Mike Scott, like there's some type of mixture there. You can, in a pick or something, there's some way you can like offset what's there. So maybe you move Seth Curry to the bench and this new piece fits into the starting lineup, but I don't want to lose any of the pieces of the starting lineup, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I guess my question for you would be that bench piece. Is it a big, since the Sixers have a problem at backup forward position? Is it someone else who is a guard that's a ball handler? So you don't put all that on Tyrese Maxey moving forward? So that will be my question to you. I think, and there's really no way for Daryl Morey and the Sixers to know this moving forward. For me, it's, as we discussed before this segment, is you just can't fall that far behind the Nets and the Bucks if they load up for and just go all in on this year. You don't want to fall behind teams with a lot of firepower. The Sixers, they can make threes when they're hitting them, even though we would like to see them shoot more since they're dead last in the NBA. If something happens with Joel or he's having an off game, Tobias struggling, I don't think the Sixers have enough firepower from the bench to keep up with what Brooklyn has coming off the bench, what Milwaukee has coming off the bench, let alone the starters. So that's what I'm worried about. Will Daryl Morey make a move just to keep pace with those guys offensively?
A wing shot creator would be my answer to your question. So someone who is, plays that 2-3 position, can create their own shot, shoot from the outside, and can be interchangeable. So I like in my head, like Will Barton is that guy for me. What will it take to get Will Barton? Can it be like, an expiring contract and a pick? You know what I'm saying? Like the Nuggets love Michael Porter Jr. Barton plays a good role with the team, but isn't featured as much as he used to be. So, a buy low guy, someone whose stock has fallen a bit, and you can, come in and offer them, some assets. And so I think Will Barton would be a guy. The Sixers, as they're currently constructed, they do need, some help with the backup 4. They do need maybe another big. But Tony Bradley's emergence has changed that. Dwight Howard obviously is super valuable to this team. So I think they can balance Embiid, Howard, Tony Bradley. That can be balanced. Mike Scott, Tobias Harris, at the 4 position, like it's not as comfortable, but I can live with that. And I feel like if they bring in a guy like Will Barton, maybe Ben can play some 4, and the Barton can help with the guard duties there. So there's something that can be worked out there. And once again, the Toronto Raptors have continued to lose or fallen so far down. So maybe Kyle Lowry, I don't know. Kyle Lowry, I think is far-fetched. I don't feel like the Sixers can get him without upsetting the apple cart. So, I'm looking for a buy low guy or buyout market player. You get a buyout market player that you don't need to get rid of anyone. You know what I'm saying? Technically, but the Sixers may have to. But so it's going to be a lot of finesse here, man. It's not going to be a big move. This obvious Zach LaVine's coming in, and I don't think that's where they are. I think this is going to be a finesse situation.
If one of these guys, they're highly unlikely, so I'm not going to spend much time on it.
No, it's fine. I want to hear it.
If one of these guys,
people are thinking out here,
if their teams buy them out, I will be open for the Sixers to bring these guys in.
Why we got to do that though? Why we got to do speculative buyouts? But
because I'm not trading for these contracts.
All right, go ahead. Let me hear it.
Because you
want to say Davis Bertans? Is that what you want to say?
No, we mentioned earlier the Sixers need a backup power forward. Papa said LaMarcus Aldridge isn't coming back.
Well, I think he might go to LA. I don't think he's coming to Philly. But that's not even far fetched. I think that's a great example. That is an excellent example. But I don't think he comes to Philly.
So the other four would be Kevin Love.
And that's also my discussions with Mark Jackson from the Sixers pre and post game. He feels like LA is where LaMarcus is going to go there. But Kevin Love is a great one. That's a great one. You bring in a player like that.
I've wanted Kevin Love for over a year. Like you know that we've talked about it. I've wanted Kevin Love as a.
You wanted him instead of Tobias.
I wanted him instead of Al Horford.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Well, Al might get traded. They look at him as a commodity. He's playing well with OKC.
Okay, so I thought those guys were far fetched. You don't think so as much?
No, I don't think that's far fetched.
So now, when you said like a wing guy that can play D, create, Terrence Ross, you got Evan Fournier.
He's too streaky for me. I know you're thinking, he can contribute on the 3-point shooting as well. He's a little too streaky for me. I need a little more rock solid than Terrence Ross.
Norman Powell, Harrison Barnes, just names.
No way the Sixers are getting Norman Powell. That ain't happening. That's far-fetched.
That's far-fetched? See, I thought LaMarcus was more far-fetched than that.
Norman Powell, he's about to get paid.
Larry Nance Jr. could be a 4 for the Sixers. I think Noah wrote an article, or someone from the site. It's awful that I can't remember, but they wrote an article.
He doesn't do much for me. He doesn't. All right.
I think he'll do more than what we're getting from Mike Scott. So
at least Mike Scott can hit a 3, though. You know what? Excuse me. Larry Nance can't hit a 3, but okay, he's okay. I can be sold on Larry Nance. So you're saying instead of Mike Scott? Not if we're going instead of Mike Scott, I can do instead of Mike Scott, not with Mike Scott. I don't need to keep Mike Scott and get Larry Nance.
Not with. Cecil Osman.
Okay. I mean, again, doesn't do much for me. And
the last one, I don't think it's happening. But the Rockets have lost how many games in a row at this point?
Yeah.
Oladipo.
That's a name I had heard as well. I think he's going to want to start. I also would see the Sixers having to maybe give up something more than what I was saying earlier for him. And he's also more of a 2. Like he's just a definite 2. He's not a 3. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But firepower wise and character wise, also he provides. I think he does check some boxes, so he would be near the top of my list if they were able to acquire him. He's not quite what fits the team, but if you're bringing in a player like that in a buy low situation, like that means maybe you can get somebody else too. If you're bringing in Oladipo on maybe a buyout or something like that, where the Rockets are desperate and want to move him.
So those are the names that popped around.
Those are some great names. I enjoyed that. Like I thought I would enjoy that. Norman Powell, though, you ain't getting him, man. He's. I think they're going to get rid of Lowry in some way and then keep him and pay him.
I don't think the Sixers are getting any of those guys, but those are the names that's popping up in my head. Some of them are wishful thinking. Some because I don't think they're being moved. Some of them, I think, if they do get moved, they're not going to end up here. So.
Well, we've seen that Andre Drummond, a guy out there, Cleveland, also trying to move. So interest, and it speculatively could end up somewhere in the Eastern Conference. So, I think that I like I said, I like what they have as the core. I'm not touching that core. I'm trying to see how that I'm rolling the dice on that core. My friends at Points Bet, give us the numbers on the core. We like the core. What are the odds they keep the core together?
And you saw everyone I named is my idea is them coming off the bench. None of them is moving into the starting lineup.
But competition can determine that. Let's just get him here. Competition. Seth Curry's still not with his legs under him or whatever. He needs to come off the bench. Him and Shake start playing well together. There's a mixture that you can create there, and then also it just matters who's on the floor at the end. That's what really matters. It doesn't matter who's starting necessarily, but I think that you bring in a guy like Oladipo to revolve around that 2-guard spot with Shake, and you bring in Will Barton, you bring in some of the other guys you named. I think there's something there. So if they can somehow finagle 2 players at the backup 4, a front court player, and then like a wing create 3-point shooter, because they got to improve the 3-point shoot. I think the big board, the Sixers big board, the dry erase board in Daryl Morey's office, as I use my telekinesis to see it, those are the things I see on there.
Okay.
Zack Snyder cut. That was a Zack Snyder cut of the Sixers.
Oh man,
trade.
Did you watch that? Did you watch that?
I got to carve out some time first.
Yeah, I mean, 4 hours is a lot.
But I encourage everyone to go to Leslie Jones' Twitter account, and she live tweets watching it. She does some of the funniest stuff when she does that, but she kills it.
I watched it. I mean, it's a longer bad movie.
You know what? I'll let you slide with that because I haven't seen it yet. So I'll let you slide with that one. I like the superhero stuff. So I still haven't watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's in my back pocket, and yeah, I'm sure it is. It looks good, but I rewatched Infinity War and Endgame just because I can and I have that ability. Yeah, right, exactly. So I'm halfway through Endgame. I already watched Infinity War, so it's funny. A lot of quotables in there. They do a great job.
We're here now, so did you watch WandaVision?
Of course. Yeah, quality. Did you like it? Excellent. Yeah, it's great. I loved it. It's a great spin, a great twist on the whole idea, man. It's
the first 3 episodes a struggle for me, but it's
of course. You don't know what's going on. It's like I Love Lucy. Like, who cares?
I picked up on what was going on and the commercials and the trauma and stuff like that. I've never been a big fan of like comedy from those eras, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I Love Lucy and the Dick Van Dyke Show, Andy Griffith. My mom loved that stuff, and like people I know that grew up watching that stuff, they love it. If you
don't like Andy Griffith, then we need to have a sit down, okay?
Andy Griffith you can sit down. I won't show up.
Andy Griffith is funny, but I get it. Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, who cares about those shows and how Wanda Maximoff and Vision portray themselves in it? But I like the actors, so it was interesting to see the actors try to fit those molds. And I thought she really carried it. Olsen did. She really carried it, and she kills the role. And the twists and I'm not going to ruin it for everyone. It was great, man. It was great.
I mean. So they reenacted all those shows or whatever. I mean, she never saw Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, Living Single.
Yeah, they skipped the 90s pretty much. And there wasn't any there was synergy between the universe with the characters, which I loved, and they're bringing back, the scientists from Thor and all that stuff. Right. But my son told me Agent Woo is getting a spinoff. Is that right?
I don't know if he's getting a spinoff. I haven't heard that. I know he's going to be in other Marvel properties.
Okay. Well, he doesn't. I see comedy when I see him. I don't see, I'm going to sock you out and save the day from him.
He's in Randall Park is a good actor. I like them and Always Be My Maybe on Netflix. Fresh Off the Boat on ABC.
Hilarious. Yes.
Hilarious.
And my son likes him in Fresh Off the Boat. So he likes him as Agent Woo, but I'm like, he doesn't, seem, superhero-ish to me.
He is the FBI agent that learned how to do magic.
Right, but Agent Coulson though, I felt like he was, the real deal. Like I felt like he was, like an FBI Secret Service SHIELD agent. I felt that.
But it's two different characters and what they were brought in for. Like Agent Coulson was like
super straight up and down.
Yeah, like he was the crack the whip guy. Like
right.
Agent Wu came from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which those movies is just how ridiculous can we make something quantum, put quantum in front of everything and just laugh and joke about things. Those things are like a lot more just like hokey and fun compared to the other movies. That's all.
Now the spinoff I want is Rambo. What is her character's name?
Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau. Yes, I want that spinoff because I'm curious of where they're going with that. I'm curious about what character they're going to make her into and the whole bit. Not to give anything away.
Photon or Spectrum, I think one of her name and the aliases. I think she'll pop up in Captain Marvel too. If you haven't watched these shows, sorry, I'm spoiling it for you, but
I'm trying to tiptoe around stuff. He just giving it all away, but quality entertainment to be sure.
Right.
Yeah. All right, we appreciate you guys listening to us. Go ahead, say something else. We can still.
Oh no! Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me and Danny. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars. If you don't give us 5 stars, I'm gonna think you a hater. Follow Danny Pommells on Twitter and Instagram at Danny Pommells NBC Sports Philly.
Yes.
NBCS.
Yes.
On Twitter and Instagram. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at I am Ben Berry. Have a good time.
Brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmu Works. We will see you next time. Much love and respect, everybody.